We've got a full house tonight, so good evening, everybody. Um, this is broadcast by South Leeds Life. Um, what we're going to do, we've got what, five councillors here tonight, prospective councillors, sorry. All the questions that we're doing have been given in by people either to the newspaper or in the notes on here. Or a couple of them have been last night and the night before that are relevant to everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to kick off and everybody will get the turn of going first. So hopefully I will start with one, work the way through. The next question will start with the next person. So it's fair that everybody gets a fair crack of the whip of answering in whatever order.
And this is the Beeston Holbeck ward councillors,
Yes.
prospective councillors tonight.
Yeah. Right. So we'll start off with the first one. It's an easy question, but a lot of people find it really relevant. Do you live in the area? And if you do you have any ties to, if you don't, sorry, do you have any ties to the area? If you don't, what makes you think that you'd be a good councillor in this area? And if we can start off with Al this time, please.
Right, hello everyone. Yes, I live in the area and I have lived here for most of my life, and therefore I'm well aware of a lot of the issues that are concerning people in this area, and also all the good positive things about the community.
Yeah. And Sasha?
Hi, yeah, I was born in Cottingley. I grew up in Beeston. I still live in Beeston. This is where I'm raising my children. And like Carl, I see a lot of the positives and negatives of the area every day.
Right. Matt?
Yeah, so you can tell from the accent, I'm not from Leeds originally, but I moved to Leeds a couple of years ago. I do live in the ward, I live in Holbeck, and yeah, I know these streets, I walk them, I see the issues, much like Alan Sasha, I see the positives, I see the negatives, of which there are a number of few, but it's, yeah, live in the area and you get to see all the things around it.
And Nick?
Yes, I've lived in the area for around 7 years, around St Luke's, Beeston Holbeck, and yeah, it's a lovely area, and like everyone else has said, has its ups and downs. Could do with a couple more ponds, more ducks, I think.
You need a pond first. Right, the second question is, what do you think, what is the thing that you think mostly that you could do better than what's currently happening? Can we start this time with Sasha, please?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes councillors aren't listening to residents on really basic issues. I don't think they're very proactive in the area. There are a lot of issues in the area that need to be solved. Parking issues surrounding match days, littering, fly tipping, and just basic stuff that need to be tackled. I think our current councillors tend to focus a lot more on policy than everyday issues. And so I would like to focus more on everyday issues.
Excuse me, sorry, Matt?
So I think one of the big things that I think we need in our area is just a lot more of a resident-led approach, and similarly a lot more listening on the issues. I think with how things are in the area at the moment, a lot of people feel that things are done to them rather than with them. So for me, one of the big things is making sure for everyone who lives in whether it's in Holbeck, Beeston, Cottingley, just making sure everyone feels that they have a stake in the area that they live in, and that they're being heard, and that where there are issues that residents are raising, it doesn't feel like it's just screaming into the void or saying to a brick wall, these issues are happening. I think people want someone to listen to them and lift those voices up.
Nick, what would you do better than what's currently happening?
Probably not a lot. There are a lot of very talented people here. The other councillors up for election. I do have a bit of experience. I've worked for Leeds City Council. Before I left, I worked for 13 years. So I was in a job that involved me basically talking to all departments every day. But at the same point, I don't want to promise anything, because then if I don't do anything, I'm honest.
And Al, what would you do better than what's been happening at the moment?
I think that I would work with the existing councillors because we have very complementary skills and different backgrounds, so we would make a very good team together. As a woman, I would particularly want to see what women want, women and girls, and particularly in terms of safety, safer streets, which goes into crime generally, but there are specific issues for women and girls. Some of them find some areas very frightening to go to, particularly after dark. That's something I've devoted a lot of my time to in my life, sorting out. I was someone who initiated the Ask for Angela initiative in Leeds for licensed premises, which I could go into further, and also Reclaim the Night marches, reclaiming the night for safety for women to be able to walk along the streets without fear, but also working together with community groups, as the others have said, to identify the issues that they bring up, because working on your own doesn't work. You have to be a team with your colleagues, with community groups, with the larger organisations like Health for All, and also reaching out as the city changes, particularly in the city centre, which does encompass a lot of our Beeston and Holbeck now. And some of the issues there are the same. People's children go to the same schools, and some of them are different. So it's about listening, as everyone said, and working to make the area as best it can be.
Thank you. Right. Next question is, what issue or issues inspired you to stand for election? You know, what was the thing that made you go for it in the first place? Can we start off with you, Matt, please?
Yeah, so one of the big issues that I think really spurred me on to stand as a councillor, it was a few years ago now, and it was to do with the, technically speaking, it's in another ward, but from the Tempest Road junction. And it wasn't specifically the fact that the junction specifically needed to be fixed or altered, but it was the way in which the community organised and banded together to respond to it. Now, I think it's fair to say for a lot of people who live locally there, they weren't happy with the proposals. But seeing how people came together and how people had an opportunity to give their view, to say, actually, I think this could be better by doing it this way, that's something that I would love to bring to Beeston Holbeck. Just the opportunity for people to, like I said before, have their stake in the issues at hand and to work with the council, with the councillors, to pretty much just say, we as the local people think this would be a brilliant way of doing it, or rather, we don't want to do it this way. Can we work together? So really that spurred me on, because that's something I want to see. I want to see a lot more of resident-led politics. And again, coming back, just this feeling that we're not having things done to us, they're done with us.
Nick, what inspired you?
So I left my job at the council, went on to a new career, and then I decided to waddle and quack, and that's why I'm here. I think that people should vote, and it's better to vote for someone than it is to spoil your ballot paper. And therefore, if you don't like anyone, you can just like the duck guy. And for everything, I think cross-party kind of negotiations and agreements and getting things done is brilliant, but they should be less cross.
Al, can I ask you what inspired you, please?
Yes, I want to go back briefly to around the year 2000 when I really got involved in local activities here in the community, and the two councillors of the three then who were particularly accessible. And before then, I'd been involved in the community, but I felt that councillors were perhaps a bit distant. But these two, well, the three of them, were really hands-on and involved. And I began to think that's something that I could do. I could use my skills and experience and work hard for the good of the area where I lived. And so it started there. I was busy working, time went on. But I think that working together with others is something I like to do. I've been a councillor before for 8 years in another area. There were very good councillors here. I couldn't get in then. And I would love to be a councillor representing the people I know and see on an everyday basis. And I think I've got the skills and experience to do a decent job, and contacts from before as well.
Thank you. Sasha?
So years and years ago, before I was even involved in politics, I became a kinship carer, and I reached out to one of the local councillors for help on an issue, and I felt that they weren't very responsive. And I think at the time I realised that local politicians tend to see being a politician as a job rather than an act of public service. And I started to get involved more in politics after that, and I joined the Labour Party and subsequently left. And one day I was at a protest about housing, and I met a local councillor who just got in, and I was having a bit of a moan to him, and he said, well, if you want to change things, why don't you stand? So I thought, well, yeah, there's no point in me complaining about things if I'm not going to stand up and try to change things in my community. And I generally agreed with most of the policy of the party, so I decided to join the SDP and stand. So it was mostly about improving politics in general. There are a lot of issues in politics, but I think we need to have the right people in place to try and tackle them.
Right. Next question, we're starting with you, Nick. Why did you join the party that you're in? What made you pick the Monster Irving Looney Party?
Because I'm a very silly person, and I've got a lovely hat and a duck cane. I'm the duck guy. I like to waddle. I like to quack. I like to flap my wings, and I'm the silly one. I'd rather someone voted for me than someone that's more damaging.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people here today are actually not damaging at all. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Can we follow that with you, Al, please? Al?
So sorry.
What made
yes,
you choose the Labour Party?
I joined the Labour Party back in the 1990s when, at the end days of the Conservative government, which was really not doing a lot for people. And I knew that the certain experiences I had with antisocial behaviour where I was living in Beeston at that time were very bad and didn't seem to be taken seriously, whereas I saw the Labour Party as a party for fairness, for equality for everyone, for taking up people's concerns, and I continue to believe in it. I think that it is doing a great deal for that, on that. And also, in my experience, it's a listening party in Leeds. People's views are taken into account, and we want to work for the good of everybody.
I think you've really answered some of this, Sasha, but could you tell us why you chose the Social Democratic Party?
Yeah, just because, as I say, I'd already looked into the party and agreed with most of the policies. Our policies are very community focused. Our tagline is Family, Community, Nation. We believe that everything starts in the community, and things should be bottom up rather than top down. So yeah, as you say, I answered most of that in my previous answer. But
And Matt, please.
Yeah, so I joined the Green Party about 5 years ago, which compared to Green Party's membership numbers now seems like I'm a bit of a veteran. But for me, I mean, the clue's in the name, the Green Party. It's focused on the environment and the fact that we are living in, the climate crisis. But it doesn't just focus on climate as this one thing. It's the major one big issue that we need to solve. It looks at everything as being interlinked rather than just one sole thing that needs to be addressed within a vacuum. So it doesn't just look at the climate crisis on its own. It looks at it in relation to housing. It looks at it in relation to the economy. It looks at it into pretty much most things. And the other thing that's, I guess, really sort of encouraged me to join is the fact that we're a member-led party. So with the Green Party, we members make the policy. So anyone who's been a member has their own one member, one vote. They can choose, I like this, I don't like this. If the majority of members agree, that's what we do. There's no overruling. It's all very grassroots. And if we don't like something, we can change it.
Right. We're starting with Al this time, please. Which policy from your party are you most passionate about?
Me,
Please, yes.
again. Sorry,
Oh,
I've
sorry.
got intermittent interference on my reception, which is why I'm hesitant sometimes. I am very pleased with the Renters' Rights Act that has gone through and the employment's rights. The fact that those who are private tenants, which there are many in our ward, can't be experiencing no-fault evictions. And also employment rights. You can keep your job even if you get ill. You have maternity rights from day one. I think those are really important. And in terms of Leeds Labour, I think cleaner, greener, fairer sums it up.
Right. Right, Sasha, what policy is it that you're most passionate about?
our policy is to drastically increase the building of social housing, and I think that's really important. I think today the government, well, successive governments have focused on private development. And today you'll see local politicians claiming to have built houses when they're actually private developments. We really need more council housing. The council house waiting list in Leeds, I think, is about 23,000 people. And because of that, rents are going up. So I'm really passionate about that policy.
Matt, what policy are you most passionate about?
There are many to choose from. I think for me, one of the Green Party policies that I'm pretty passionate about, I could say housing, but I think we've had that already. But I'm quite passionate about the transport policy that the Green Party have. I think that transport is one of the biggest links between areas within Leeds in our city. It's one of the biggest things, across the country. And the Green Party has really, in recent years, ramped up its view that we need transport to be working for people because it's how most of us are getting on with our lives. It recently is we've actually reversed. I mean, if the question was, is there anything I disagree with on the policy, it would be that the Green Party used to be against, I think, HS2, for example. But I think spinning it on positives, I think the Green Party really is focusing quite nicely on the way that we need affordable transport and transport that actually works for our communities. Because I think on a local and national level, there are some failings that really just make it a lot harder. I mean, for me at the moment, I use public transport when I need to get to work. I need it when I'm going around the city, and I think we need something that's a little bit more fit for purpose.
Right, thank you. And Nick, is there anything that you're passionate about?
Yeah, I think in terms of the NHS, that could be expanded by adding extra letters to it, and to expand it further, A&E could be expanded by including all the other vowels.
Right. This time can we start with you, Sasha? What community work have you done previously, if any?
So I'm a local school governor. I work as a committee member for Beeston Festival. I regularly litter pick, and what else have I done? I've led campaigns against cuts to service, for example, and they're trying to take the lollipop lady away. There are other things, but sorry, I'm I can't remember.
Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, so I've been doing a fair amount of community work over the past, well, since moving here to Leeds, really. So I've been taking a lot of action on litter and fly tipping in our communities, whether this is actually organising and going out with a group of us to litter pick, or just pushing on various hotspots to be reported. There is a hotspot. It really does my head in out in Cottingley, but we're getting action on it, which is good. I've been building dialogue in sort of my immediate area around antisocial behaviour. We've had a lot of car break-ins, parcel thefts. So what we've been doing is we've been talking about ways in which we can bubble these reports up so that the police are aware about it. And I'm also pretty happy that we've got residents for, well, need to double check where the ball's rolling on that one, but with the residents forum to actually discuss those issues. I've been getting involved with local campaigns such as Better Beeston, not just on waste to fly tipping, but also talking about community engagement, looking at beautifying our communities through street art. I volunteered with community groups to help run iftars and fetes in our community. I've also, oh blimey, I think like Sasha, I've done a fair amount, but it's not coming to my head. I guess another thing that I have done, again, it was a while ago, but I work in IT, so I have offered my help with IT services for, well, I say IT services, to sort of help with designing banners for community forums when they've got events on, and I've also offered help with some IT infrastructure before. But yeah.
Al, I think I got mixed up. I've not asked you this, have I yet?
Yes, community work. I was a school parent governor back in the 1980s and 90s. On from that, I've been a very active member since the beginning of the Friends of Crossflats Park. Looking back to the past, I consulted everyone in the area about putting railings around the park, and that it was very much in favour. So that was what happened. We organise bands in the park every year, and I organise a dog show, which is very popular every year, apart from the COVID year. For 5 years, I organised also a craft and produce show, but it was a lot of work, and it was, however, popular. We planted bulbs. I got the idea of an exercise trail by visiting another park, and was very involved in raising the money for it, looking at where it should go, and that's good. And also expanding the Watsoni Pavilion, raising over £100,000 for that. And I'd certainly like to use that fundraising skill that I do have with the Cottingley Community Centre, who desperately need a community centre in Cottingley, and it is under threat. Just briefly, I was part of setting up the Hillside Enterprise Centre from the primary school that existed there before, and was its first chair and founder member, and it is still thriving. I was a founder of the South Leeds Community Radio that operated from the Hamara Centre and then from Hillside for nearly 10 years. Until the funding ran out. I'd already left by that time, but it did involve a lot of very diverse local people in talking about their issues and also training. I've been involved, I've managed training for English for speakers of other languages, for basic IT skills in Holbeck, and I've also, as part of my work at the social enterprise, Vera Media, made films, short films and videos with local people in Cottingley, St Luke's Cares, with Holbeck in Ingram Road, Beeston Festival, and there's going to be a programme of screenings of all those films now, over the next year, which I think will interest people who were maybe children or younger then and are now older, seeing themselves. So I also litter pick and report fly tipping, as others have said, and work with groups to do that.
Right. Can we start with you this time, Sasha, please? I think. Are there any policies from your party that you don't agree with?
So yeah, as I said, I'm a school governor. I'm in charge of behaviour, and our policy is to scrap limits to excluding children. I think that would impact SEN children. I think that there are schools that do some really good work making sure that children are included and training them to manage their emotions when they're being a bit difficult. And yeah, so I don't agree with that policy.
Right. Matt, is there any Green Party policies that you don't agree with?
Yeah, it's more of a national one than a local one. It's mainly about nuclear energy, but I don't think we're spinning up a nuclear reactor in Beeston Holbeck anytime soon. But as I mentioned, I think one of the good things about the Green Party is if we disagree with it, we can vote to change it. It's not prescribed to us. So yeah.
Right. Al, is there any Labour policies that you don't agree with?
Well, I don't agree with everything that Shabana Mahmood has been saying recently about making people who've already got permission to live here and to remain to have to be checked up every 10 years or so. I think that, once you've got permission to stay, that's it. You're a citizen of the country. And if you do something really bad, that's a different matter. But you should come to the attention of the police or something. But if you're a regular citizen working, living here, bringing up your children, you've got a settled life, I think you should be able to continue to be settled. But it's also true that within the Labour Party, there is listening. Backbench MPs can make their views known, if all the members can make their views known, and things can be made different. It's not a dictatorship.
Yeah, thank you. Nick?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree because they're all wonderfully silly and ridiculous and insane, like me. So that kind of sums it up.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it.
Next question. If you get elected, will you be happy to work with the other parties in the area? And could we start off with you, Nick, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said earlier, we want cross-party without being cross, and that's exactly the way that things should be done. We don't want to be arguing all the time. It's more cohesive, I believe, if we work together. So yeah.
And Matt, how would you feel about that?
I mean, look, we're all local people who care about our community and we love it, and that's why we're standing. So more than happily, I will work with political parties that are not my own for the good of our area. I mean, I think you just have to look at how much that I think Sasha, Al, Nick, and I have all agreed so far. We've all got the community's best interests at heart, and the differences stop at the ballot box.
And Al?
Yes, definitely. It's not useful or constructive for local residents or any initiatives that are going on in the area for people to be at odds with each other. We have neighbouring borders in South Leeds and we need to work together. We may not always agree with each other, but we need to find a way of getting on.
Sasha?
Yeah, I regularly work with councillors from other parties through my community work. As everybody else has said, it's really important to work with people with different perspectives to you, but also I do think that we all share a lot in common. And I think we need to focus more on putting party interests aside and focusing on what is best for our community.
Yeah, thanks. Right, this next question. Do you think council tax should be reduced? And if you do, how would you go about reducing it? What would you cut back on? And could we start with Matt, please, first this time?
In an ideal world, if I had a magic wand, I would lower council tax, but I think we need to be realistic. The state of the economy right now and with everything, it ain't going to happen. Like, I think any candidate who says or puts on a leaflet, I will lower your council tax, I think that needs a reality check. So, yeah, I would love to lower council tax, but right now, that's yeah. But the one thing I would point out is that with council tax, something that comes up with me regularly whenever I'm talking to people is that people just want to see what they are paying actually be used for something that is value for money. I think with the amount that we're paying at the moment, it's going up and up and up. I think the least that we should be able to have is some improvement in the services that we're paying for. So, yeah, it's as simple as that. If I had a magic wand, I would, but no, yeah, pretty much.
Can I come to you now, Al, please? Al? Can I come to you, please, Al?
Yes, of course. Sorry, it's interference again. Well, I don't think it's realistic to reduce council tax at the moment. If we did, the difference it would make to each individual would be not a lot of money at all, very little, almost pence. The difference it would make to the delivery of services would be massive. We are on very short commons at the moment, being able to deliver everything we want to do. And of course, scrutiny is very important to make quite sure it's being delivered in the right way and that we're getting value for money. And that's something I would want to be involved with as a councillor. But I think that council officers I know work extremely hard and it would be very difficult to make any further reductions.
And Sasha?
No, I don't think we can reduce council tax, but I do think that we should be spending money better. There are a lot of things that I see that have been done that are short-term fixes. I think we need to focus more on investing in the long term on things. So a couple of examples. Firstly, potholes. There are lots and lots of roads that need resurfacing, but they're just the potholes are filled and it costs more in the long run to do that. Another issue is I've been recently campaigning against the use of illegal children's homes. These are children's homes that are not registered with Ofsted, and the reason that Leeds City Council are forced to use them and spend up to £900,000 a year per child is because they were looking at the short term and they were cutting services and they were selling off children's homes, and now they're forced to pay whatever private providers want them to.
Can I ask you, Nick, please? Your views on
Yeah,
council?
I think there's no way that you could really realistically lower council tax because of austerity brought in since 2010. So I'm being serious now. Wow, it's ridiculous, and that's why it needs to keep going up. And people are getting older. People are increasingly more vulnerable, and therefore they need more support. And 2/3 of council tax go towards that. It's not just bins and potholes, it's supporting people. And yeah, so I mean, I might rename it like council quacks, but that's it.
Yeah. There's a question from me, but I'm going to leave it out for now because we've got so many questions coming in, and with there being 4 of you to ask, it's taking longer. We've got a question here. Looking back at the lack of trust in local and national politics from the public, senior figures such as Angela Rayner, Richard Tice, they face significant public and media scrutiny over the personal financial affairs. Given that level of attention at the national level, do you think all public officials, including local councillors, should be fully transparent about their financial history so voters can make informed decisions? And do you believe that you meet that standard? I'm not sure what the meaning by it, but it was somebody else's question. Oh, sorry. Can we start with you, Al, this time, please?
Stop with me.
Please.
Yes, I do believe that I would meet the standard. I know that if you're bankrupt, you cannot be a councillor, and there's certain other things. And I'm not bankrupt. I'm happy to be transparent, and I think that full transparency is good practice.
Yeah. Sasha?
Yeah, I think that was for another hustings aimed at a specific candidate, but yeah, transparency is really important. I'm not, if we're talking about in terms of like having bankruptcy and IBA, yeah, I think it's important to be transparent about that. But I do also think that people, you know, should get another chance. And if people have had a bad financial history but managed to improve the situation, then I think that should be forgiven.
Matt?
Was the question, would I meet a standard of scrutiny and fight? It was a long question, but was it about meeting a standard?
I think that's what would you meet that standard? That
Yeah.
you won't have any skeletons in the cupboard like Angela Rayner, you haven't got seaside houses and things like that. And
I wish I had seaside houses. I don't even have one house I rent. But on a serious note, I think part of the question was about trust in politics, and I think it is pretty clear with some of the skeletons that have come out of some politicians' closets that there is a lot of money that basically it makes the political landscape go round. And politics shouldn't be driven by money. It shouldn't be driven by having someone put money in someone else's bank account to get a favour or to make a decision go one way. It needs to be in the community's interest, and I think that speaks to a lot of the issues that people have with trust in politicians, that it is basically highest bidder gets what they want. And politics shouldn't be like that. There's a massive issue of trust, and that needs to be rebuilt.
Nick?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously, honesty is the best policy. So, yeah, I'm not I'm not wealthy, so I've pretty much got nothing to declare. I live in my friend's cupboard under the stairs, despite the fancy hat, which I spent all my money on. That's it. It's a nice hat, though.
Right. Next question is, looking at your party's manifesto, I know we're local and that's national and everything else, but what policy from your party's manifesto or commitment do you personally believe in most strongly, and why? And what difference do you think that would make to the people in this area? Oh, sorry. Start with you, Sasha, please, this time.
Yeah, I think this is a really similar question to the one that you asked before. As I say, council housing is a massive issue, and not building council housing is pushing rents up. We can't rely on the private sector. For years and years, the successive governments have underinvested in housing, and that needs to change.
And Matt?
Yeah, so if it's all right, I'm going to pick something from the local Leeds Green Party manifesto, because we do have one, if that's okay, or would you rather it national?
Use the Leeds one if you want. If you're ashamed of the national one, you use the Leeds.
Well, no, it's just local manifesto, local issues. So, I mean, one of the things that the Leeds Green Party manifesto that I'm the most passionate about is this idea of a city of belonging. And we're very much committed that, I mean, it's a very broad idea, obviously, this idea of belonging to a place. But I think, especially with how the political landscape has changed in the last couple of years, I think it is more heated than ever. And what Leeds Green Party believes in very strongly is making sure that it's something that's accessible for everyone. We have stronger, inclusive communities and things that are fairer. So I think that's the thing that I care the most about, because how can people enjoy their city if they don't belong to it?
Sorry about that. I turned my phone off and it's calling me through my computer instead. Nick, could you answer that question, please, while I get rid of my neighbour?
Sure. I'll be brief. Yeah, I agree with a lot of them because they're obviously very silly. There are actually some monster raving loony policies that have come into fruition, like pet passports, but a national policy that hasn't been introduced yet, and I don't know whether it's as sensible now, is to introduce a 99p coin to make things easier. But people pay by card now, so it's a bit pointless, isn't it?
Yeah. Have I asked everybody that question? I'm so sorry about that.
I think you didn't ask me.
Yeah. Could you let us know, please, Al?
Yes. Well, in fact, I think I did mention something before, that I'm very passionate about the employment rights and the renters' rights. I do agree that we need more council housing, and that is in Labour Party's plans as well. And I'm also think that the emphasis that is put on opposing violence against women and girls is extremely important. We've actually got a minister to do that now, which has never happened before. And I think that it definitely needs to be taken extremely seriously and carried out, which Leeds City Council does do. Leeds City Council has not reduced any funding for the domestic abuse or violence against women, and is putting in more measures to deal with that.
Right, thank you. Christine, have you got some questions that have come in on there?
I do have some questions. So I have some questions that's been given to me directly and questions in the chat. So we'll start with one that's a little easier. It was just for Nick, but in to be fair to all the candidates, we've asked people to generalise the questions so nobody gets to speak more than anyone else. So this first question, I'll go to Nick first. Somebody in the chat admires that it was said that we should have more ponds in the area. Does anybody know where would be a good place to put these ponds in the ward? So Nick, you go first.
It's yeah, there's a little green near between St Luke's Church and Morrison's Local. Perfect place for a pond. And anywhere else, beautiful.
Lovely.
The more the merrier.
Can I just interrupt there? There is a big new pond where the memorial garden is there. And last year, somebody has emptied it. They came with a council digger and they dug a trench and emptied it. So there's no nukes. So we could fill that and put ducks on it.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Matt?
Perfect.
Locations for ponds, please.
Locations for ponds. Well, this is not the sort of question I thought I'd be answering, but I would love to see. I'm missing the obvious, Crosslands Park. Let's have another pond. Let's have a pond in Crosslands Park. That would be the perfect place for it. It's absolutely gorgeous.
There you go. Sasha, do you have any plots of land that could do with a bit of duck action?
I don't know about ponds, but I've previously joked with a friend that one of my policies would be to install an infinity pool at the top of the quarry in Beeston, which I think is a really good idea. Yeah.
Al, any ideas?
I love ponds, but I also am aware of the issues of security and maintenance and the safety of the wildlife. I know that up in Middleton Park, where they've got a beautiful pond, there was very sadly one of the swans was killed. So I think we have to be thinking about that while we're thinking about them as well, and also that they're safe for children playing and so on. But I think thinking about the city centre for a moment, and where a lot of the residents now of Beeston Holbeck Ward now live, Ayr Park doesn't have any swings or slides, but also perhaps a pond there would be great. And I mean, maybe somewhere in Cottingley as well. But it's something definitely to talk to community groups about. I think it's great that the idea's been raised.
There you go. Well done, Nick, for that. Okay, a little bit more of a serious question. So the expansion to the Leeds United ground will bring additional traffic where Cottingley is, also the other areas, but Cottingley, this was aimed at. We're already locked in on match days for around 3 hours. Buses have had issues getting around the estate and the way that the cars park make it dangerous. Residents want a long-term solution to this issue and we don't want to be used as a car park on match days. What will you do to try and help this? And I will go first to Sasha.
Yeah, so that's really concerning. Also concerning is the fact that the council have just sold off all of the car parks surrounding Elland Road, so that issue will be even worse. As I understand, there's a separate parking warden for match days, and I don't think they're doing a very good job. So I'd look into why that is. It's been explained to me that it's a corporate parking warden. That doesn't sound good to me. I would want to have a look into why it's a separate parking warden and whether we could look to employ a parking warden as councillors to get on top of the issue rather than outsourcing it to somebody else.
Thank you, Sasha. I'll go to Al next, please.
Yes, I think that Ellen, the owners of the Leeds United say that parking won't get any worse with the expansion, but we need to be discussing with them all the time what this actually means. Now, at the moment, traffic wardens do issue over 200 parking fines every match. But if 5 people have come in a car together, they're paying hardly more than £5 each for that. We need to think about increased deterrence. It'd be difficult, but that's something we could look at. I think that the new train station being built at White Rose is something that will help, because when it's done, Elland Road's in walking distance of the White Rose Centre. People may well decide to come on the train, and that's what we hope, and then walk from there. And there is a possibility of a multi-storey car park as well next to the ground, but there's no planning application in yet and no detailed proposals. So the football club are buying land that they own the club, and they want it to succeed. So we want it to succeed as well. We want to see Leeds United being great. So we need to work together. And I've had experience of doing things like this with Headingley Stadium, where I was a councillor before. And actually, we did put in quite a lot of things which were very helpful, which I want to discuss with Elland Road.
All right, thank you, Al. I'll go to Matt next, please.
Yeah, so with matchday parking, I think one of the big things with the issue itself is, I mean, it's a bit like Al says, with deterrence, sure, we can increase enforcement and fine more people, but if there's 5 people in a car, they'll just split the cost. I think one of the big things with the matchday parking issue is we need innovative incentivizing idea. Sorry, it's been a long day and I can't quite speak. But we need innovation in the ideas of how we encourage people not to drive in. I think building a new car park or building a multi-story car park, I don't think that's necessarily the solution, because if people think, oh, well, there's more car parks in the area, okay, so should be good to drive in, there'll be space, surely. I don't think so. I mean, there were some good ideas that I had a conversation with some of my green colleagues about how can we, again, incentivize and innovate people to not bring the car in. For example, working closely with the club of, it's like carrots and sticks. So can we encourage people with a good reason not to drive in or to carpool to reduce the number of cars coming in? But I think this is an issue that also we need residents to be at level with the club on. There was a meeting that I went to. I can't remember exactly where it was because there were a number of meetings when this first came out. But I think the word juggernaut was used. There was someone who said it feels like that Leeds United is just this big juggernaut where we, the residents, are bearing the brunt with it and they get whatever they want. And I think we need to basically that it's an interesting word to use. I think we need Leeds United to be, at the table with the residents. Because like I said earlier, as local people, we know the area, we know what will work, what won't. And if we can get everyone around the table discussing how can we best approach this, I think that's something that could basically touch on the issue and try and find a way to solve it. Apologies.
Okay. Nick?
Yeah, so despite being a duck, I can actually read as well. So I've looked at the planning proposals, and they do include potential for a multi-story car park there. So that would help. If the tram system comes in, that would help as well. Slightly moving the park and ride. It all seems like logical steps, and again, just stick another pond in.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, next question. There is a lot of drug use in the area and across the ward. Would you push for safe drug consumption rooms to get it off the streets? Nick, I'll stay with you.
Yes, because that it helps, and usually these rooms have support workers, and so for someone struggling with addiction, you're not just gonna stop using drugs. It's an ongoing process of of getting off it. So yeah, these kind of rooms with support workers can only be a positive thing.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Same question to Sasha.
No, I don't think that's a good idea. I think that there needs to be broader support for people with drug issues. I have people with drug issues in my family. I know that it's really, really hard to get through to them. And often it's best to just remove them from the area where they have the connections, where they're buying the drugs, where they have bad influences. So I'd prefer to see like a wider support package rather than allowing them to take drugs in a room. I don't think that's helpful at all.
Right, thank you, Sasha. Al, the same question to you, please.
I'd need to look into the background on safe consumption rooms and whether they've succeeded in other areas. But I do know that I think that people who are addicted and wish to come off should be given every support. And there is a very good organisation in Leeds, Forward Leeds, which is really helpful to people. I think not everyone who is taking an illegal drug wants to stop. So that is also an issue. It's something that we discuss a great deal with the police, and I think that I would like to research these consumption rooms more just before I come down on one side or the other.
Okay, thank you, Al. Matt, the same question to you.
Yeah, so in the ward, I've heard so much about drug use and how that it's impacting the communities from an antisocial behaviour standpoint, but also from a hazard standpoint. Like, people are telling me about the fact there's needles in Crossflats Park, there's drug paraphernalia. It's scary. And I think, this is a community that belongs to everyone. I think for people with young families, seeing that sort of stuff around, it's not helpful. I think that, yeah, it's something that, needs to be addressed. As for safe drug consumption rooms to get it off the street, I think that's neither. I think basically I'm agnostic about it. I know that they can work, but whether they do work, in my experience, I don't know. I'm going to hold my hands up and say that. But the one thing that I think really does need to change with the narrative about drug use and consumption is that people who go through addiction, it's a health issue. And for a lot of people, I think they want to get out of that cycle. And it's something that it's something that I think by framing it as a health issue, we can look at getting people the help that they need. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I know there's a lot of stuff in the media at the moment about the Green Party and drug policy and how some of these very inflated things about what the Green Party would and wouldn't do, which I haven't got off the top of my head, apologies, but definitely encourage researching what the facts are about that, because I know that's something that's been on a lot of people's mind when they hear about the Green Party, but it's not as big of a hype as it's made out to be by the media.
So this question sounds like it's from me, but I promise you it isn't. Okay. So Cottingley is at risk of losing its only provision that tackles issues affecting our residents and those in other areas, from food poverty to mental health. They've paid gas and electric for residents, free clothes and furniture. It's the only meeting place, and we have 3 youth groups. If that provision is lost, what will you do to support the Cottingley residents? And I'll start with Matt.
Yeah, so like you say, it's something that's been helpful for so many residents. I can only apologise that I've not been down to visit. I've been meaning to, but sadly, yeah. But for me, I think centres like these are lifelines for people, and they do so much good work in the community and helping individuals in the community as well. So in terms of what I'd like to see if that resource is lost, I really hope it doesn't. Looking at how people within the community can support each other. I mean, I know that community centres are beacons of light and they are places that people centre around. It's a community centre for a reason. But I would like to see can we within the community help each other out with similar provisions? I mean, there's lots of, for example, like the LS10, LS11 Conserving Resources Associating People, the LS11-10 CRAP group, which it's an acronym. But things like that, where it's almost like peer-to-peer support, people helping each other out where they need it. That's something that I think has worked quite well in the community, with just sort of if people need something, I think models like that could work. But mainly, I just think we shouldn't lose a vital community centre. I think that's one of the key things for it.
Thank you, Matt. We do have a group called Reclaim that does do the same thing as CRAP. Some of it is based in the centre, some of it is not, but thank you for mentioning that. Sasha, I'll go to you next.
I'm really sad that that it's come to this. I think probably more work could have been done early on to prevent this from happening, rather than it just being taken over by, I mean, I love the work that you do, but taking it over and managing the running costs wasn't the solution to a leaking roof. I think there should have been more forward thinking in the first place by local councillors when they were trying to find solutions to the issues. Cottingley Community Centre is vital. There is a lot of local services have been removed. You've lost the train station, you've lost the post office, you've lost the local pub. And I think it's really important to have a building for that. I'm not sure how it would work without having a premises to work from. To give a bit of praise to the Labour Party, there are some pots of money coming in soon relating to youth clubs, and I'd look at like different pots of money both in local and national government and see if we could work to get funding to, even if the premises is sold, try and get a new premises. Yeah, I find it really sad, but I'm really, really willing to try and help and make sure that there's a solution to it.
Oh, thank you, Sasha. Same question to Nick.
Yes, it's very much a shame that it is potentially closing down. And what I do is pester or quack at perhaps national government to provide the funding for this, because it could be a national thing, and this is the kind of funding that should be given to these kind of centres that are absolutely vital and enhancing for people in the local area, because I know that because I used to go to one where I grew up and I volunteered there afterwards, and it was amazing. So it set me up for life, and well, now I'm a duck, but yeah.
Thank you. Al, same question to you.
Yes, Cottingley having a community centre is absolutely vital for the residents in the area. And I've already been to 2 of the fundraising bingo sessions and sponsored someone who's doing a run, and I would continue to do that. But of course, a lot more money is required. As I've said, I've had a lot of experience in fundraising and raising larger sums with Hillside, with when Hamara was set up, and the Building Blocks Nursery, the Watsonia Pavilion, and running my own small business as well. So I would want to use those skills very much as far as I possibly can to help. In this case, I think there's also an opportunity to contact people wider than the Cottingley area or this area, and point out the desirability and the vital importance of keeping the centre and involving them in fundraising as well, and also getting local businesses from Beeston involved in doing things. I think there's a lot of ideas that I'd like to put into it, because I think we have to keep it.
Thank you, everybody, for that. That was really nice. Okay, so the next question from the chat is, what would you like to do with the money that is going to be invested into Holbeck? And I'll go for Al first, please.
I think that I would, before I say this, that, and the other, I would like to say that I would want to consult with community groups and organisations and like Holbeck Together and everyone who uses St Matthew's and local residents as to what they think their priorities are. There are quite a number of them in Holbeck now, and I wouldn't want to think that I'm imposing anything, but I think that generally anything that improves the standard of living and the quality of life for all the residents there, whoever they are, and all the children who go to the school and use the green space that's on the moor would be really desirable.
Lovely, thank you.
And sorry, could I just say, Holbeck obviously extends further down into the city centre area, and there's a lot more crossover between those residents of the flats and the area of Holbeck around Domestic Street now, and I think I obviously want to include all those people as well.
Okay, thank you, Al. I will go to Matt next.
Yeah, so similarly, I'd love to see residents having a stake in what that money gets used for Holbeck, particularly sort of almost trailing off what Al said there. So in the sort of more city centre bit where I'm based in Holbeck. So with regards to sort of things for the community round our part of it, it is mostly just flats. And I'd like to see we did used to have a little cafe called Flamboyance, and it was brilliant, and they ran community events there, but sadly they weren't able to. I think it was mainly due to costs and overheads. So I'd love to see stuff for our community up here in the flats because we don't really have that much that goes on in terms of neighbours getting together, getting to know each other. But I guess in a similar vein, sort of down into Holbeck as well, I'd love to see money being used on stuff that goes for the community. So things that get people together, get people with their neighbours, engaging with one another. And yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Matt. Sasha?
Yeah, I agree with the others that the community should be consulted on what it's spent on. I would tend towards spending money on youth projects, on employment projects, and on events that bring people together, as Matt says. I think we have a lot of groups that cater to specific groups of people, and I don't think we have enough things that bring people from different backgrounds together. I think Beeston Festival is a really good example of an event or a organisation that brings people together, and I think we need more of that.
Lovely, thank you, Sasha. Nick?
Yeah, so I'm just a very silly guy with a stupid hat. Like you can't possibly rely on me for deciding what happens with this funding. I would want to speak to people in the public about what they want. Why should I, even though I am a duck guy, why should I decide where that funding goes? It would need quite a bit of level of consultation and just ask people what they want.
Okay, thank you, Nick. If you just stay there, next question. This person loves a good pint. Would you invest in the wonderful local pubs and ensure they are protected to keep providing what he describes as a heroic service? Nick?
Yeah.
Pubs.
There's a simple answer. Yes, they are community spaces. Even if you're not a drinker, pubs with pool tables and community spaces and doing quizzes and stuff like that. It's a meeting space. That's the entire point of why public houses exist. So I think that would be a good thing as long as it's like kind of properly done.
Nice, thank you, Sasha.
I think that pubs are really important community assets, and we should do what we can to save them, but they are private businesses, so there's not much that councillors can do. But I have seen a lot of collaboration between the community and pubs recently in Beeston, hosting like fundraising events, which is beneficial to both the groups and the pubs. So I'd like to see more of that stuff.
Thank you, Sasha. Al?
Yes, I think, as Sasha says, pubs are private businesses, but it's really good to see the way they are reaching out, and it can be a way for people to get together. But I also think that places where alcohol is not served should also be supported, and somewhere that brings different members of different communities together, so that not everyone stays within their own little section, but comes together and meets. And I know that there are some very interesting things like the Beeston Festival or the Leeds Connect group down in the city centre, which is having really good celebrations that are open to all, and other initiatives which I think are very worthy of support.
Thank you, Al. Matt, the same question.
Yeah, I think pubs in our community are brilliant. They are, as we've said, community spaces. And I think when most people think of pubs, they mainly think of like, the public houses. But I think another in similar vein, people who absolutely need a shout out are our working men's clubs. For example, we've got the Holbeck. They don't just serve the community with drinks, they hold meetings there. For example, one of the unions that I'm a member of, Acorn, they're based in the Holbeck, and that is a space for people to come together, to meet, to organise within the community. And then even over in Beeston Hill, places like Roland Road Working Men's Club, brilliant. They, as we've sort of touched on, they host community events, and they've got brilliant spaces like the Roland Road Play Patch. Giving lots of shout outs here. So it is more than just a place to have a pint. It's, like we say, it's community spaces. It's spaces where we can make things happen. It's spaces where the community can come together. And I definitely think we need to nurture that.
Lovely, thank you, Matt. Al, I'll go to you first for this question. Can you give an example of how you have followed through on a promise? I'm going to guess within community work or as a councillor or candidate.
Certainly in helping individuals, I aim to follow through on everything that I've promised, and I have done. I can't really give details because individual casework is a confidential thing, but I have been finding while I've been a candidate that a lot more people have been asking me for support and advice and referral, and I've done the best I can. In terms of being a member of groups, for example, we set out to raise money to expand the Watsonia Pavilion in the park, and we did that. We set out to create a business and enterprise centre at Hillside, and we did that, and the same with the Building Blocks Nursery. So yes, those examples and others that I've mentioned.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, so well, not much, but I guess I do have my experience of being working for the council for 13 years and dealing with a lot of people and helping people in a customer services environment. And therefore, that has helped me, but not quite perhaps as much of a senior level as some of the other very experienced people here who quite certainly do a lot more than me.
Thank you, Nick. Matt, same question to you.
So, in terms of promises, I think obviously it's a big thing. Politicians' promises, are they kept? Are they not? For me, one of the things that I have, and again, like Al says, for a lot of it, it's on sort of individual basis with casework or with inquiries, things like that. But for me, there's one particular example, and it's to do with a specific fly tipping patch. Now, I didn't promise, oh, I'm gonna wave my magic wand, I'm gonna get this fixed, it will never be tipped on again. But what I promised was that I would keep at it and I would keep just resiliently as I can, report, to try and whenever it comes up, just push to get some action on it. Now, obviously, like I say, not a magician, I'm not going to wave a magic wand, it's not going to get immediately fixed overnight, but I've promised to be resilient and to keep at it. And that's something that I follow through on there, just to not give up, not just say, oh, well, it's a lost cause, we'll just leave it, but just to keep on keeping on. And I think that's, for any politician, that's the best we can do. Not to promise the earth and the moon on a stick, but just to keep at it and just gnaw away.
All right, thank you, Matt. Sasha, the same question to you, my love.
So I'm contacted regularly to help with issues in the community, and as Al said, I wouldn't want to share private details. And I tend to try not to promise to do things because I'm still learning, and sometimes there are just issues that you can't solve. You sometimes hit a brick wall. But as Matt said, I do promise to continue trying to resolve issues. One example, which is kind of general, recently somebody was complaining about the bins in Cotton Lane. And I didn't promise to get it done, but I managed to get them collected after 8 weeks of the council not collecting them. And I went down myself and I cleaned up the area because it was awful. And it was actually really nice because people started coming out to help me and talk to me about other issues in the area. So I always promise to be there and try. And I think I've always followed through on that.
Thank you, Sasha. Next question. If you are elected, what would be the first thing you would change in the area? And I'll give that to Matt first.
So one of the first things I think I want to do in the area is I want to get residents in Holbeck together. So I'll clarify that. But what I want to do is I want to get some sort of meeting with residents in the area in Holbeck to just, as a first step, have a hash out of what are the issues, what are the priorities that we need to focus on. I've seen it in areas such as Beeston Hill and Beeston where we've got regular forums for people to come together and the issues get raised there so that they're on the radar and people can actually just discuss and put out this is my software engineer's mind coming in, but almost like data of just what's going on, what is there. And at the moment, I think for a lot of people in Holbeck, especially when I've been out and about talking to them, they say, well, let's just, like, I've on my own, I've reported this so many times, and I feel like it's just me and no one's listening. And what more can I do about it? So one of the first things I'd want to do is bring together residents, either in an established residents forum or a community association, or even just as an initial, hi, we're all meeting over here, come along, tell your story, say what's going on, just so that we can start getting the ball rolling with building up a wider dialogue of what's going on in the area. We know that this is something councillors can offer a lot of support with. I know that, for example, there's one of our green councillors has been trying to get something like this going over in Leeds Dock, where I don't think they have a established group. But building dialogue is powerful, and I think that that's something that Holbeck could benefit from. So that's one of the first things that I would do. There are many things, but I think that's the first one that comes to mind for me.
Well, thank you. Can I pass that question to Sasha?
Yeah, there are a lot of issues that would be really important if I were elected. to tackle quite quickly. But I think one issue that is more important than any other is tackling, as I've already mentioned, the use of illegal children's homes in Leeds. I think, yeah, everything that Matt said, all important issues. But I think if politicians can't protect the most vulnerable people in society, then they shouldn't be in those positions. So I think that would be the number one priority for me to tackle straight away.
Thank you, Sasha. Al, same question to you.
I think they're not illegal children's homes, they're unregistered children's homes, and there is a difference. And children are not put in them unless it's 5 o'clock on a Friday night and there's absolutely nowhere else.
Sorry.
And they have been assessed. But anyway, my what I would change, or what I would do, is look at antisocial behaviour, and in particular introduce the Safe Walking Routes app into this area. It's a very good app that's used in the city centre and shows where safe routes are and makes the streets safer, both the perception as well as the actuality. I mean, I personally find the streets okay, but I'm not a young woman who I think, or a young man who I think are more at risk quite often. And a lot of people say they're not. So anything that helps with that, I think, is what I would look at as a priority.
All right, thank you. Al, Nick, the same question to you.
Yeah, so I again would echo what everyone else has said, albeit that I would probably end up going to them for advice, because we've got a lot of very much more experienced and wonderful people here. So I just do that.
All right, thank you, Nick. So another question from the chat. What is your opinion on it says our Tracy's trams. What is your opinion on the proposed trams to come to South Leeds? And I'll go to Sasha first.
Yeah, if I can just respond to what Al was saying, that's not correct. It's illegal for a children's home not to be registered with Ofsted, and any placement of children in those homes is illegal. Yeah, I really agree with trams. We are the biggest city in Europe without a tram network. Well, without a mass transit network. So I think we need to get the ball rolling on that, and I hope that it does progress soon, especially with the expansion to the Elland Road Stadium and the removal of parking there. It's really important that gets moving quickly.
Thank you, Sasha. I'll go to Nick next. Your opinion on the trams?
So yeah, the West Yorkshire Combined Authority is kind of leading on this, isn't it? So it's not so much Leeds City Council, but obviously we would have some sort of influence. But I think it would be incredible if we had a tram. But the current plans that are in place are a decade off, and that it just seems too long. I'm not so keen on that. I'd say just speed it up. Stop spending money on pointless things. Get this lovely little tram in place, like other cities have. Because if you want to do something, you can do it very quickly.
Thank you,
so
Nick.
I'd do that.
Thank you, love. Al, same question to you. Oh, sorry, Al, you're muted. You're muted. You need to unmute.
I'm so sorry. Yes. One thing Sasha and I can agree on is that we really like trams. And as I think, bring it on. Yes, the trams will be great. And as I understand, people are moving as fast as they possibly can to get them put on our streets. And I think it will help a great deal with travel and transit, and hopefully get people out of their cars.
Thank you, Al. Matt?
Yep, I think we all agree on this one. Tram's brilliant. I think like it's been said, we are one of the biggest cities that do not have a mass transit network, and boy, don't we feel it. But the one thing I would say is that I don't think trams are a silver bullet to the issues that we have with transport. I think that you've got other cities like London, Manchester, where if you want to get from one place to another, you've got plenty of options. And I think in Leeds at the moment, we don't have that. So, for example, there are various places that do have a train station, for example, Crossgates, Bramley, Pudsey. So, really, what I'd love to see is the trams, but also a nice, big, wide-ranging transport network that works so that people have plenty of options to get from A to B.
Thank you, Matt. Next question is around fly tipping. So it says we're currently experiencing high rate of fly tipping from both residents and external people driving on and dumping things. It has never been so bad. What do you propose to solve the issue specifically for people that come from other areas and dump in South Leeds? I'll take that to Matt first, please.
So with fly tipping, I mean, I think, again, every single one of us can agree it is one of the biggest issues that comes up with me so regularly, and it is just nightmarish. Now, I think there are some good ideas around enforcement, for example, CCTV cameras, but do I believe that that's again, like almost like a silver bullet to solve the problem? Not necessarily. I think there's definitely a lot to be said about the culture around fly tipping, about encouraging people to just be so resilient with report, report, report. Although I think the question is specifically about from other areas coming in, isn't it? Yeah. So, but yeah, I think nonetheless, with fly tipping, it's something that we find that we're just being very reactive with of, okay, it's turned up, we need to get it reported, moved. I definitely think there's something to be said about encouraging people just to be as just super resilient with tackling it, just knowing what the avenues are to get it reported, get it moved. And yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Matt. Nick, same question to you.
Yeah, so fly tipping is annoying. Flies are annoying. And you could prevent fly tipping by stopping people from pushing over aeroplanes.
Beautiful, thank you. Al?
Yes, report, report, report. Get the license plate number if you can. Get photos if it's safe. Vehicles will be seized. Environment crime is a crime and will be punished if the perpetrators can be found and identified. I think there are forms on the City Council website. I filled one in today about an increase in fly tipping at the very bottom of Dewsbury Road, just before it joins the ring road, which has become a site. And the form, I think, could be made easier for people who might struggle more. And that's something I would take up. And not everyone could be online, so there must be other ways of reporting. But keeping reporting, CCTV in real hotspot areas, but people, some residents don't want CCTV everywhere. They talk about privacy, and they say CCTV is a mark of a dangerous area. So there are differences of opinions there, which really I want to take into account. Really, there's no excuse for a resident to fly tip if they can't take the things to the tip themselves. They can arrange a bulky waste collection. Now, it is it is a matter of waiting, and the cage wagons do come round to collect, but of course we're paying our council tax on people who fly tip, so it is a blight, and we all know about that. And I think we need to find some more innovative solutions, and in the meantime make reporting more streamlined.
Thank you. Sasha, same question to you.
I think we need a mix of all of the things mentioned before. I definitely think that there should be cameras in fly tipping hotspots. I think often residents feel like they don't want to report it with evidence, because they might be identified by that, and often it is neighbours that are doing it. In terms of bringing it in from other areas, I think that would solve that. But I think there are other things that we need to be doing. Again, education, and also increasing bulky waste collections. Anybody that logs in to try and get a bulky waste collection, I did it recently. I know a few people have contacted me. You just can't get a slot, and it costs more in the long run to keep having to pick up fly tipping than to just provide more slots for people and inform them more about that. I think a lot of people don't realise that bulky waste collection is an option, and then when they learn that it is, then they can't get a slot, and it's really frustrating. So I think we need to tackle it from lots of different angles.
Okay, lovely, thank you. I'm going to ask you one last question because I can see you're really tired before we give you the 2 minutes to talk about whatever you'd like. So the last question is, if you were elected, how would you work with other councillors in neighbouring wards? And I will give that to Al first.
I already know the councillors in the neighbouring wards. I mean, I know who they are, and some of them I've worked with over time, and I would want to work with them to have an open conversation with them about issues that affect all of the people in our neighbouring wards, so that together we can come to the best possible solution to deal with issues and make the whole area as good as it possibly can be for everybody who lives and works here.
Thank you, Al. Sasha?
As I already mentioned, I already work with councillors from other areas. We have 3 councillors in a neighbouring ward. So obviously I'd work quite well with them, and we've been putting a lot of policy through in council to improve the entirety of South Leeds, not just their ward. But I think they're as willing as I am to work with other parties, and they have had issues in the past. But I hope that, I mean, this election is going to be, there are more candidates running that are more serious about becoming a councillor, and I hope that it does kind of make local councillors think again about working with other parties, especially because, as I said before, we do share a lot in common, and I do think that most councillors do want the best for the communities, even if they don't go about it in the right way. So yeah, very willing to work with other people.
Thank you, Sasha. Nick, the same question to you.
Yes, I wouldn't be a very good duck if I didn't spread my wings. So I everyone on this call, wonderful people who I'd be totally happy to work with, and the neighbouring councillors, many of them who I'm aware with, and yeah, it's all good. Like, we're all wanting to make things better, so yeah.
Thank you, Nick. Matt, same question to you.
So, Sasha, I already work quite closely with the Green Councillor over in Hunslet Riverside. So I have quite a bit of experience working with him to make things happen in Beeston. But I think another thing that's actually worth pointing out, and I wish we talked more about this, but some of the ward boundaries almost seem arbitrary. For example, Beeston Road, sort of as you go sort of down towards where the Morrison's Daily is by St Luke's Road, Beeston Road, like going down the middle, is the boundary between Hunslet and Riverside and Beeston and Holbeck. But the issues aren't magically all different on one side of the road to the other. It's one road, they're all facing the same issues. Similarly with the sort of outer urban village bit of Holbeck as that tends towards the city centre. Again, there's some similar boundaries that are a little bit arbitrary. Like I think Beeston and Holbeck technically has half of the train station and Hunslet and Riverside has the other half. So there are so many different issues that are cross-ward and we need to work together to address them, not based on political ward boundaries, but actually looking at this is our community. We're not, it's no different because you have three different councillors to the other, and very often it's the same issues. So I definitely think there's a lot of scope to work together, and because to misquote the great Leeds United quote, we're all Beeston, aren't we?
Thank you, Matt. Al, did I ask you that question?
Yes, you did, I think.
Did I? It's after 8 o'clock. My brain starts to. Has everybody answered that question? Perfect.
Yeah.
So, sorry guys. So this would be the part then. The questions are finished now. I'm really sorry to the chat if I missed any. But our Zoom is due to go off in 15 minutes. So I'm going to give back to Linda, and she's going to introduce the last, 10 minutes. Linda?
Yeah. I'd like to first thank all the participants that have been putting questions up, and I'm sorry if we haven't got time for them, but there has been some brilliant ones put there. If you could just couple of minutes to tell us about yourself, just to finish everything off. Can we start with you, Sasha, please?
Yeah, we usually do an introduction, don't we? So this feels weird. So I'm Sasha Watson. I'm the SDP candidate for Beeston and Holbeck. I'm really involved in the community. I do lots of litter picking, lots of clean-up stuff. I regularly work with residents to solve issues. I've been on the media several times talking about issues in our area. The loss of local services, safety in Crosslots Park. I work with Beeston Festival. I am a committee member for Beeston Community Forum, where I do the raffle there and listen to the views of the community. I'm involved in the community every day, and I belong to a party that's not whipped, who has community at its heart. So I'm really, really keen to if I'm elected, get really stuck into tackling the issues that lots of people have reported to me, but nothing is being done about. I think it's really important to work with a variety of people with a variety of different opinions, including other councillors, to try and better the area for everybody.
Thank you. And Matt, would you like to carry on with a bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Just first of all, thank you to South Leeds Life for putting on this evening for us candidates to come together and talk about the different issues, what we would do for the area. It's been a very respectful, very lovely hustings to, show the community exactly what we're all about. So my name is Matt Rogan. I'm your Green Party candidate for Beeston and Holbeck. I've lived, volunteered and worked in these communities for a number of years now, and I can honestly say that this community is brilliant. Now, we've got a number of different issues, right? We've got fly tipping, we've got antisocial behaviour, there's parking issues, housing, but this is a community of neighbours and it's a community of love, and it has so much potential to thrive. Myself and your local Green Party team, we've been here, we've been taking action on these issues, we've been building dialogue, and I myself have been a dedicated campaigner for many years now. I've worked on campaigns around saving libraries, although that was back home in Essex for clarity. I've organised practical action, I've engaged residents forums, listening events, I've co-run community events such as the LS11 yard sale, and again, speaking out on the big issues that affect all of us. So on May the 7th, I think it's fair to say that the political landscape is very different. And I think these are probably going to be one of the most tightly run elections yet, and because a lot has happened. And yeah, we are in a totally new dynamic of politics. But your voice matters. So the one thing I can pledge is that I will be Beeston and Holbeck's voice on the City Council and not the council's voice in Beeston Holbeck. So many thanks again, and I hope that you can support me in the Green Party on May the 7th.
Al, could you tell us a bit about yourself now, please?
I'm Al Garthwaite, and I've lived here in Beeston most of my life, and been very involved in the community throughout almost all that time. I've given details of all the different groups I've been involved in and what I've done, so I won't repeat that. But I have worked and do work with a wide range of community groups to set up various local facilities and buildings and services that are well used and popular, as well as things that are entertaining and that people can do to enjoy themselves, because I think that's really important. Becoming a councillor, I shall do my best to approach every issue enthusiastically and with determination to create the best possible outcomes for everyone who lives and works in this area, and individuals, groups, local businesses. And no matter who someone's voted for, I will be there to represent them and to sort out any issues they may have. Similarly, with local businesses, I want to know their issues. I have already talked to quite a number, and I will be following that up and have already done quite a lot. I think it's important that people of all religious faiths and no faiths, and from whatever background, whether they've lived here all their life or came here last month, can call upon a councillor to be completely fair and do what they can for that person and to represent them on Leeds City Council. And that's what I will endeavour to do.
Thank you. And Nick, would you like to finish us off with a cheerful note?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so don't actually vote for me because I'm an absolute joke, and everyone here is not an absolute joke. But what is quite what speaks volumes is that the people who aren't here, they're not here, and they're the ones that I feel shouldn't be voted for, and it's a bit of a disgrace that they're not here, and everyone who is here is making a valuable contribution. So yeah, don't actually vote for me, or well, you could. Better than a spoiled ballot, but do what you want.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. In other words, rather than not vote at all, put it on yours.
Yeah, I might actually win though. That's the problem.
Right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, the audience, and thank you for the prospective councillors. It's been another good night. Anything else, Christine?
No, I just say good luck to all of you, and yeah, everybody go and vote for somebody.
It's just so nice that everybody all has one. You're all councillors for us. You're not what's the word for it? You're there for the community. It's come across from everybody that's been here tonight, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You're all there for the community, not because you want to just be a councillor, if that makes sense. It does in my brain anyway.
Look, thanks, Linda. So just to remind you, this meeting was recorded and will be posted on South Leeds Life YouTube channel probably later tonight. You can sponsor or subscribe to South Leeds Life to help us keep doing the good work with the newspaper. And again, good luck to all the candidates. We wish you well. And yeah, as Nick said, do what you want.